beautiful people. I am here today with the lovely Freddie. You may have saw that I posted a little snippet of an interview we did last week. We had technical difficulties, but it gave us the opportunity to do a live interview. And so here we are. Take two. Take two. So Freddie is my good friend. She's my fitness friend. You are the one friend I have who will exercise with me and go on hikes with me, and who I've learned a lot from. And I would like people who follow me to learn from you as well. So that is why you're here. Say hello to who will soon be your new admirers.
Oh, goodness. Hello.
No pressure. Okay, so the other reason why I wanted to interview Freddie, besides the fact that she is my best fitness friend, is also because Freddie has like a very wide variety of fitness experience, which I have gleaned a lot of info and inspiration from. And so we're going to touch on the different facets of fitness that you have experimented with over the years. Does that sound good to you?
Sounds great.
I hope so, because that's the plan.
Well, we'll see where this goes.
Okay, first question. How did you get into fitness and healthy eating? Were you always fit? Did you always eat super well? Or was there a catalyst for you?
So no, I was not always into fitness. I was like a band geek and into like drama theater when I was in high school. Believe it or not. Yeah, I know. So good. But basically, I guess my second or third year of university, I just kind of wanted to start getting fitter. I was having body image issues, and that was like my first major like push into, okay, first of all, I was really little, but I was like skinny fat, and I wanted to just change like the way I looked in my body composition, and then slowly started going to the gym, and then I got into like Pilates, and then I got into like group-oriented boot camp classes, and then the military happened, and then the rest is history, basically.
Okay, so you said, so you were skinny, but did you feel like you were in shape? Was that part of the issue?
Yeah, no, I like to call it skinny fat. So super out of shape, eating garbage food, eating candy all the time. I'm pretty sure that 90% of my diet was Sour Patch Kids and like Earl Grey tea with like 7 scoops of sugar in it. I don't even want to know like how my teeth managed to stay in my mouth. But yeah, it just, my diet was deplorable. I was super inactive. Like not a healthy lifestyle at all. So.
Okay. So you started mostly with like group classes. I met you at Apex Gym when I was maybe like 6 months into working out. So I lost a bit of weight. I was getting into it. And at that point you were powerlifting. So that was like the Freddie I met. So yeah. How did you get transition from taking like the group classes to weightlifting? Because I think a lot of women start more with group classes because women are afraid of the weight room. Like what got you to make the transition to weightlifting, and then I mean powerlifting is like a whole other.
It's like different worlds.
Completely different world. So how did that's a big jump.
So yes, I find that a lot of women gravitate towards group classes because they are less intimidating, especially when you don't necessarily have the money to pay for a personal trainer because they are cheaper, but they still have that aspect of like, okay, you're following someone's plan, and
there's guidance.
If you don't know what you're doing, then like it's good to have some guidance. Going on from that, I did end up joining the military in the last year of university, and like I did my basic training, and even though I had been like group class training for about 8 months to a year, and I started like running a little bit more, and I had done, I want to say my first half marathon was like right after basic training, because like I did my basic training, and like it's not the hardest course in the military, but it does get to you if you have no physical fitness at all. And I kind of realized that I was definitely at the tail end of that pack. Like I was not in like the 15th percentile, like it was not an easy course for me when it should have been less difficult. Like, it should have been easier. And the mental stress on top of everything kind of got me into like, okay, I really need to like buckle down and take care of this. So I got into running for about a year through my sister, because she was running half marathons at the time and doing like duathlons where like you like run for 10 kilometers and then you bike 25 and then you do another run at the end. Like, she was insane. And then I guess I wanted to shift away from what I wanted to look like and switch more into like a what my body can perform as.
I love that.
Yeah. So making that switch was really life-changing, and I find that powerlifting or any type of strength sport is really empowering for people that are wanting to switch their mentality from like the scale, what I weigh and what I look, to like what my body can do. Like that was the biggest like switch for me. So yeah. A lot of confidence happened in that like year.
Okay.
A lot of confidence happened.
Did you find when you started lifting, like because a lot of women are apprehensive about lifting because they're nervous about being in a weight room that is tends to be predominantly filled with men. How was that transition into, like, do you remember the first time you like went into a weight room, and did you have any idea what you're doing? Like, how did you feel? Because that's probably the comment I get the most when people call me for training, is that they're really nervous about lifting weights.
So I remember being a little bit intimidated and quite nervous, but at the time, unfortunately, I'm going to bring up my ex in this. At my time, my ex happened to be also very into like weightlifting and just like gym workouts, and so I would kind of just follow what he was doing, and that kind of got me into okay, this isn't so scary, people aren't gonna like judge me, nobody's gonna like stop you, and like nobody really cares. Like when you start doing it for a little bit of time, you realize that nobody's paying attention to you, because everybody that's in a gym is so into themselves that like like nobody's looking.
It's so true.
Yeah, it's true. Like everybody's like flexing in the mirror and like looking at their own shit, and like, so once you realize that no one's looking at you, it's very liberating to just like do your own thing and sticking to the plan. And I'm a very like numbers and data oriented person. And when I found a program that was like clinically proven to, okay, if you follow this and these percentages, this will be your outcome, it was really cool. And I just started doing that. And then very soon after, I ended up moving into a house that had a home gym. So I was away from all of that and just was lifting on my own, like in my garage, like not caring what anybody was doing. And all the people I was training with were my friends, but they were also men. So nobody really, I didn't realize the weights that I was lifting was like considered heavy for a woman my size.
Yeah.
So
yeah, when I first met you, I remember seeing you. So I do want to touch on, I felt the exact same way. Felt intimidated and nervous, but I never have had a bad experience in the gym with comments from men or really anybody paying attention to me, because you're right, everybody just wants to do their own thing. Either they're so into their workout, their focus, or they're the type of people that are there and they're like on Instagram between sets and like flexing in their mirror, like you said. So nobody is paying attention to you. And I found whenever I did get any comments from people and from men, it was always normally like, oh, you're doing good, your form's getting better, like you're lifting more. Like, I got a lot of positive feedback from other people who lift weights, which I found super interesting. And most of it was from men. If women spoke to, it was normally about like how I was going to get bulky. Did you get a lot of that when you started lifting weights? Like your women friends being like, don't get too big, don't lift too heavy, you're going to get big shoulders, you're going to get too much muscle?
Not necessarily, because most of my friends are also either mildly into fitness or open to the idea of like weight training, and don't necessarily like buy into that like weird niche of, oh, like if a woman picks up a dumbbell, she's immediately gonna look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like, it's not, if you don't like, we don't have the biology to do that, right? I would get a lot of comments because like I don't look particularly impressive in clothes. I just look like a small lady, especially when I was doing like really heavy powerlifting. Like it's not, strength doesn't equate to muscle size. Like it's the way that your fibers interact and like everything. So I would get comments in the gym of like, you're gonna hurt yourself. Like they'd see me like load the bar, like the deadlift bar with like 300 pounds. And I would get tapped on the shoulder like, honey, like, make sure.
Have you done the math right? Do you realize?
Yeah. It's like, honey, are you? And I'm like, yeah, this is my first working set. Can you like fuck off? Like,
did I ever tell you the first time I noticed you in the gym?
No.
So the first time I noticed you in the gym, you were chest pressing.
Oh.
And it was at least, I think you were warming up, so it was like at least a plate per side. I don't even remember, but I remember just thinking, holy shit. Like, I didn't underestimate you, but I couldn't believe it was impressive. It was super impressive.
Well, so when we met, I was right at the tail end of my powerlifting, like, competition few years. So I feel like my technique was better, and, like, yeah, the strength is there, but a lot of it is technique. Like, the first I want to say like 2 years of people transitioning to a strength sport, like most of the gains you're going to make is going to be technique oriented. Like where to put your feet, like where the leverage is on the bar, where the bar half should be hitting you, like can you stabilize it, are your shoulders engaging, are your lats like pulled in or whatever. And that when we met was probably when my bench press was the strongest because I had been working on it. It was my weakest lift. And I had been working on it consecutively for like 7 months, like doing a strength bench press oriented program. So,
yeah, I know. I was impressed by the bench press, and then you and I started talking. And you're like, "Well, that's my worst exercise."
Yeah.
And then I saw you deadlift, and you deadlifted like you're the one who got me to my deadlift record at the time. Remember, you tricked me.
Yeah.
Do you remember that? Because I had such like a mental block over 145, like I couldn't get past it. And then you would like make me turn around, make me like walk around the gym, add on, and then I was deadlifting. I think I got up to like 175 with you or something that day.
Yeah, and I still think you could do more.
Unfortunately, I need a deadlift bar in my home now. COVID, so who knows what I'm deadlifting now?
What you're getting for Christmas. But
don't play.
Now it's on camera now. I have to. But yeah, okay. Bench press is a lot of technique. Squat is a lot of technique and strength, and deadlift is a lot of like willpower. I like to say,
and mental capacity.
It's all like, can you you need to know your body well enough to know that you're not going to hurt yourself if you load it, and you need to trust your program. And if your program says that you should be able to deadlift like 3 sets of X amount of weight for 4 reps each or 3 reps each or whatever it is, based on the math, like you should be able to do it. A lot of times when people hit a plateau, it's because their technique is off or they have a mental block.
Yeah.
Like I had that mental block at 3 plates, so 315 for the longest time. Like I could not, I would get
315 ladies. That's, I know.
Like I could hit 300 pounds and I could do it for like 5 reps. And as soon as I put the 3 plates on each side, it was not moving. Like it was not going anywhere. And then someone actually did to me what I did to you with your bar. Like don't even look at what's going on. Like trick yourself into thinking it's lighter and just like close your eyes and just let your body do what it knows how to do. Like you've done this movement so many times, like you will be able to do it. And since I've hit my 315, I have never not been able to hit 315. So, except for recently, because, no access to a gym for 5 months.
That's a whole other story.
But we'll get there eventually, again, if I want to. But I'm not doing strength right now. So.
Yeah, so let's get into that. Okay, so you went from group classes because you realized that you needed to get into better shape, start eating better, joined the military, realized you still had some work to do, got into strength training, got into powerlifting, was very successful at powerlifting.
Yeah, did powerlifting for a long time. Still enjoy it, broke my spine, can't do it anymore.
So you can't do it competitively anymore. You can't do as high numbers, but I mean, you still have a wicked chest press, deadlift. You could still do some of them at a lower weight.
So my cross training program currently is technically a powerlifting program, but I've pushed all my numbers down because A, there's no point. I'm not going to be competing anytime soon, and B, I don't want to hurt myself because your spine is the most precious set of bones in your body. It
comes in handy on a day-to-day basis, I would say.
The fact that I'm pain-free now is really wonderful, so let's keep it this way.
Yeah, especially because we work out for health and mobility, and so therefore to push ourselves past that would be pointless. So after powerlifting, so again, this is why, because variety of experience, you got into bodybuilding.
So when I got the diagnosis that I had fractured my C6 vertebrae and that I wasn't allowed to weight anything on my spine for X amount, they're until we figure out what's going on and if you need surgery or whatever, you can't do this anymore. And it was devastating, and I hated it, and I hated every second of it. But I made the decision to find a different goal, and I couldn't go back to running right away because the impact on my spine would still be an issue. So I was looking around, and I thought, low weights, high reps, hypertrophy, bodybuilding. That's the definition of what bodybuilding is. So I switched back. I switched to a bodybuilding program, and then decided that in order to have a goal for myself to keep myself mentally from going into a depression.
You needed a new accomplishment.
Yeah, I needed a goal to keep my mind, A, to keep me from becoming a couch potato and getting all depressed and oh, woe is me. B, I had such an active lifestyle that I needed to do something, and having the goal of some type of competition, I found for me would have been really healthy. So I found a coach, did a competition, signed up for one that was about, I want to say 9 months out from when I started working with him, and did that for basically a full year. Did the show, realized it wasn't necessarily for me. Still appreciate the experiences, but it's not my cup of tea. So glad I have it, but not going.
Okay, so you did it, and so I'm asking you. I obviously know. What were some of the issues you had around bodybuilding? I mean, it was great that you tried it. It kept you fit. It kept you active. Gave you something new to focus on, which I think were all good things at the time. Because we were friends when you were making the switch. What were some of the negatives then around bodybuilding for you?
The culture that surrounds bodybuilding, I personally, in my experience, found is very toxic. You can make it whatever it is, right? If that's your passion and that's what makes you happy, go for it, and that's a you thing, you do you, boo. But for me, because I had already struggled with body image issues in the past, and I thought that they were my dark in the closet, never gonna happen again kind
They were in the past. You conquered them.
I was a week out from my show, and I still thought I was fat. I was working, I would go out and do an hour of cardio in the morning, and then 2 hours of working out in the afternoon on a 1,200 calorie diet of seasoned, no fat. My brain was just, I was exhausted all the time. I started getting mood swings from being so
hungry.
I was hangry. I love food, and I love good food. And just identifying in myself that I was having almost a mild body dysmorphia issue was a bit of a red flag for me. So when I decided to pull out, it wasn't really heartbreaking like it was for powerlifting.
Yeah, you were over it, realized it wasn't.
Yeah, it wasn't for me. I don't think that if you have food issues, body image issues, any type of orthorexia issues, I don't think that bodybuilding is the sport for you, because all of the things that you would need to do to perpetuate a healthy mental lifestyle are completely counterintuitive to the bodybuilding lifestyle. Obsessing over your food and bringing containers of pre-weighed, measured out, like meals everywhere. Like I went to my niece's birthday and I
remember this.
went to my niece's birthday and I brought my food with me. Like it was absolutely ridiculous.
Like a vegan almost.
Well, yeah. It was like, but like I don't know. And then just like the weighing everything and like
really restrictive as to what you could eat. Like you had such a strict meal plan.
It was so restrictive and it wasn't flexible. Like and like I lost my period. Like I have polycystic ovarian syndrome. Like light. So there's like two, I guess, main types of polycystic ovarian. There's the disease and there's the syndrome. And in the syndrome, you can have like peoples whose thyroids are affected, which helps like women that they end up gaining weight really easily. They have issues losing weight. Their like libido is really low, whatever. And then you have like a low body weight polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is this basically. So I just feel better when I exercise and stuff, but like just that push of too much exercise and like not eating enough, like lost my period, lost like I was starting to like lose my hair, like things were not going well, like physically.
Well, because your calorie intake was so low. It was so low, especially for the amount of work you were putting in. Like your fitness routine combined with that was a lot.
Yeah.
And two, did you find? Because I remember, like, I saw your meal plan, and I remember being like, oh my god, I would spin back into my old eating habits quickly because too much restriction would cause me to binge. And then did you find with the, like, you had a fitness program, did you get bored of it? Because it's so, I mean, it's not really functional training in terms of, you know, you're doing a lot of, like, machine, single joint exercises, again, because it's more of an aesthetically focused sport than powerlifting was.
Yeah, like, for the first, I want to say, so I was on these programs for, I don't know, between 8 months and a year. I can't really remember. But for the first, like, half of it, it was fine because it was all new to me.
Yeah, it was
right?
exciting.
Like, it was exciting and, like, now I feel my glutes. Like, I've never felt this before. And the type of training that I was doing was, like, exciting because it was something new. And, like, I was learning new things. Like, what is this exercise? I've never done this before. But after a while, it got very, like, redundant. And I started feeling, like, not excited to go to the gym anymore, which is very weird for me because I'm a very, like, not like the gym is my life, but, like, I enjoy going.
Yeah.
I, like...
You enjoy fitness. You don't just do it because you know you need you for your health. You like to go.
I enjoy it. I like it. I like whatever. And I was having issues because I was doing the same thing, like, 3 days a week. And then the other 2 days I was doing other things, but because one muscle group was, like, lacking over another one, we had to, like, almost overtrain that group. And I'd have, like, an hour-long, like, workout of basically, like, the same 5 exercises with, like, different variations of the same one exercise. And it just got really boring. I remember showing you my program once and be like...
And I was horrified.
I was like, this is what I'm doing right now, and I'm going to lose my mind. Like, I'm so bored. Like, I don't want to, like, and the thing is, when you're not interested in what you're doing anymore, the effort you put into it,
it's gonna dwindle.
So, I mean, when I had this show to work up to, it was like, okay, well, I'm doing this for a reason. As soon as the show stopped and I started, like, doing the detraining, reverse diet, and everything, I was like, I'm out. Like, peace. Like, I'm doing my own thing now. This is boring. Like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Okay, so powerlifting. Okay, so we've done group classes, weight training, powerlifting, bodybuilding, and now you run.
Now I run.
You run.
I run a lot.
You run a lot. For someone who thought, like, the 5K is, like, my biggest accomplishment in running ever.
Which is.
And I would never even consider running more. I wouldn't even consider running a 5K again, to be honest with you. I only run if I'm being chased or need to catch a bus that only comes every 40 minutes. I mean, I have not sped up to catch a bus that will come in 10 minutes, okay?
Yeah.
So you run.
I run.
How's running going?
Running's going great. I really enjoy it, and it's great because I get to incorporate weightlifting into my program for cross training. So I've been doing a lot of research on like how I can incorporate strength training into like making my running better and like how do I get faster. And
again, it's a lot of numbers, which
a lot of numbers, which I'm a fan of, but I try not to like obsess over, obviously. And it's not aesthetic based; it's all like numbers based. But like also, I'm doing it for me, this is like the first time that I've had a goal where the goal wasn't to come in first place, which is really liberating when you're like, I'm going to do this for me.
Because you more want to finish the marathon.
So,
right?
So I'm training for a marathon, which we didn't say.
Oh yeah, she's training. That's why she's running so much.
I run a lot. I'm training for my first.
I have to remember we're talking to people who don't know you.
I know, true. Cool. So, it's going really well. I'm 12 or 13 weeks into the actual training plan. And basically when the quarantine happened, I've been wanting to do a full marathon for a very long time. Like since I did my first half marathon, I was like in my life.
Can you explain how long a full marathon is for some people?
42.2 kilometers. I've done a half marathon every year since 2014.
Who hasn't? I'm sorry, I'm always so amazed by your running capability.
My sister got me into running, like back in 2014, I did my first half marathon with my sister, so it's 21.1 kilometers. Did that with her. I was very unprepared. I effed all my shit up.
You learned.
I learned. That's the thing. Grow and learn. And I've been doing one half marathon every summer, every year for, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 6 years.
Yeah.
So
can't do math.
Yeah, I'm tired. I ran a lot.
She ran here.
I did. No. I could have.
I know you could have.
No, I don't want to. I love you, but like, imagine me just showing up like all sweaty. I'm like, and then have to run home. But yeah, so I've been doing, and then in 2018, I did something with the Army run in Ottawa called the Commander's Challenge. So you run a 5K, and then about an hour later, you run your half marathon, and that up until a couple weeks ago was like my longest, like not even consecutive distance, but like the longest distance covered in a day. And
I remember when you first told me you did this, and you're like, yeah, but it wasn't consecutive. And I'm like, I run 5K and I'm out for 3 days after. I can't imagine running more after. I barely make it to the car. Walk from the finish line. I'm like, oh my god.
The thing, most memorable half marathon. I have two.
The tequila one?
The tequila one. So,
it's a good story.
I'm going to keep this really short because it's not my proudest moment. But so last year, there was, I saw when I was signing up for my races for the year, I was like, I want to do a half marathon this year. There was one that was running on my birthday. I'm like, I absolutely have to do this one. Like, I have to do it. The problem is the half marathon was on the Saturday, and Friday evening, a bunch of my friends call me up and they're like, yo, we're going out for your birthday, like, bitch, get in the car.
I'd seen you for brunch that day.
Oh my god, yeah, so we went up for brunch on the Friday, or the Saturday, and then the race was Sunday?
Yes.
Yeah,
Saturday.
so we went out for brunch on Saturday, and I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna take it easy, I have my run tomorrow, gonna get to bed early. 3 o'clock in the morning rolls around, and I'm hammered. And I take an Uber back to my apartment, don't get to bed until like 4:30. The race starts at 7, people, and I had like 2 hours of sleep. I woke up still drunk, basically.
You texted me, you're like, I'm still drunk, and I'm like, are you still running? And you're like, yeah. Okay!
And I was like, if I have to walk it, like, doesn't matter, I'm doing this on my birthday, like, it's happening. So I show up at the starting line, I see some guy I know, and he's like, how you doing? I'm like, 1 second. I start, like, throwing up on the start line. I'm like, I'm like, I smell like tequila. I
Sweating tequila.
Oh, it's really bad. It was really bad. It was one of the weirdest experiences of my life, but I finished it, and it took me a while to finish, but I did finish. I did finish.
Which is impressive. Not recommended, though.
No, I lost a bunch of
toenails. It's a cautionary tale.
Don't do that.
Lost toenails?
I did. Because, like, when you run and your form is all, like, effed up, like,
which was because you were so drunk.
Yeah, I was, like, stumbling around trying to, like, find the finish line. I wanted the medal with my birthday on it, okay?
I know, I get why you did it.
But yeah, so I did lose some toenails that day. It was not my proudest moment, but I Instagram storied the entire thing.
It was great to follow all day.
And people were both impressed and concerned.
But the funniest thing about this whole story for me was the next year when you went on the marathon website. This is the same one.
Yeah.
Your picture was the cover. The was like their marketing image for the year, and I knew, I'm like, she's still drunk.
Yeah.
Crossing the finish line, and she is now the spokesperson or the cover girl for the marathon.
So yeah, my friend Heather went to go sign up for the same race that I did, but for this year. And she sends me a text message. She's like, "Yo, Freddie." I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Do you know you're on the cover of the half marathon website?" I'm like, "What?" She sends me the link. I look at it. I'm like, "Oh my god." She's like, "Isn't that the half marathon?"
The tequila. I call it the tequila marathon.
She's like, "Isn't that the one where you ran it like really drunk?" And I was like, "Yes, it was." So like.
I mean, it's not recommended, but it's like I could barely do the 5K sober, and I got like 12 hours sleep the night before, and you did it hungover. So impressive, but again, not recommended. And people say fitness can't be fun.
Yeah, don't do that. But you know that was a good
one. It happened.
I had signed up for the same marathon this year, but then COVID happened. Yeah, so when the lockdown happened and when COVID happened, I figured, well, the gyms are closed. What am I going to do to keep my fitness up? I've been wanting to do a full marathon for a very long time. Let's just effing do it. So I did all the plan workup for it. I planned to do, so I already had a race that I was supposed to do for a half marathon in like end of February, beginning of March. That got canceled because of COVID. They went virtual. So I did my training up to my half marathon to like build my base, and then I started my marathon training plan, and about 3 weeks into it, started the vlog,
which is great. I'm gonna put a link underneath wherever you're finding this.
Shameless plug.
It's really good. I'm completely up to date. It's fantastic.
You want to watch me cry on camera?
It's good because it's very like realistic of what it is. It takes and the pitfalls and the setbacks and the accomplishments too. I mean, I definitely think you're learning a lot, but you must have learned from every, like, your powerlifting, your bodybuilding, and your running, no matter what, whether it was a positive or a negative experience. I mean, you've kind of learned something from every single one of these fitness endeavors, shall we call them?
I feel like that's the goal, though. Like, that's what we're trying to do. Like, you just want to. I think that people are too afraid to try something and fail.
Yeah.
And if more people got over that, like, fear of failure, you would realize that when you do fail is when you learn the most about yourself.
Yes.
And, like, I am not one to be, like, I did acro yoga with my friend Sarah yesterday, and they were doing, like, headstands, and I'm like, I've never done this before, and I tried it, and I rolled down a hill. Like, we were doing it outside. It was
You're fine. You're still here.
It was on a slant, and
you could fear failure, but I mean, at the end of the day, you're either going to fail or you're going to live with regret. Really, what choice is better? I mean, at least failure you're going to learn something from, and who knows, you may end up succeeding, and then you gain even more.
You might surprise yourself, right? Like, I think that that fear that people, especially women, like, it sucks, but like, women tend to, at least in my experience with like some of the women that I've met in my life, like, they don't want to try something because they don't want to be embarrassed because it's in front of people, and like, what if people see me, and what if, and I'm like, and nobody cares. Like, especially nowadays, everyone's so into themselves, which is a good thing. Like for more people, if more people took care of themselves and like loved themselves, like the world would be a better place.
Focus on their own wellness.
But like, I don't know. I find that fear of like judgment and what are people going to think of me, it's dishonest to yourself because you're not.
It's normally that's not your fear. That's what I have found for myself. It wasn't because I feared what other people would think. I feared my own failure.
Yeah.
I didn't really fear what other people thought of me. And then, too, even if people did, let's say people did think something of me when I walked into the weight room and was 300 pounds. I mean, even if that was true, look at where I am at now. And so does that matter? Or am I going to hold myself back and continue to be unhealthy because somebody might judge me when I walk into the weight room? Like, that's just kind of keeping me in that unhealthy place, right? Which I obviously needed to get out of. You needed to make changes for your health, and that is really what the priority should always be.
Yeah, and like on top of everything, it just people also don't necessarily realize right when they're getting into it that it's not instant. Like we're not just talking about like body changes, but I'm also talking about like your mindset changes. Like if you let's say you start your fitness journey when you're 25, okay? That means that you've had 25 years of you basically telling yourself and society telling you like all of the habits that you have now, they're so ingrained in you that it's going to take time for you to change them. So if you're just beginning your fitness journey or your healthy lifestyle, whatever you want to call it, and your one change that you make is that you drink more water and less soda, that's a big win.
Yeah, it's really small, consistent actions that add up and that you can build upon. Yeah. But I think it all starts, like you said, mindset. It all starts with the belief that you can actually do it. I think a lot of women go in, and I always tell my clients this. They say, well, I'm going to try. No, say that I am going, like I'm going to. You might still fail at whatever it is this week, but if you say, I'm going to try, it's because you're already doubting yourself. You're like already entertaining failure. You're already preparing yourself for it. If you go in with confidence and like envisioning yourself having success, you're more likely to end up on that path than if you are using doubtful language, right? How we speak for ourselves matters.
That and like success to one person isn't going to be the same thing as success to another person. Like success for me for this whole like running endeavor is not like, I'm not going to kid myself. There's no way I'm going to like run a marathon and come in first place. No, like it's not happening. Like realistically, it's never gonna happen. Like I'm not an elite runner.
That's not what you're training for.
It's not what I'm training for. Like my achievement for this will be to finish or to try to do the most that I can without injuring myself. Like those are my goals. And if I get to the day where I'm running my 42 kilometers today, and I get to 35 and things start hurting and I'm not having a good time anymore and I want to give up, like I want to give myself the compassion, like to leave my goal there and say, hey, I'm at 35 and like this is where my goal ends. Like this is my achievement, and be proud of myself for that. And I think that if more people like gave themselves like compassion and sympathy towards their like little goals and understand like what a big step it is to stop eating Sour Patch Kids for breakfast. Like I used to do. Like
Starbucks white mochas with whipped cream. That was
like it doesn't happen overnight. Like you're not gonna just one day wake up and be like, I guess I'm not eating Sour Patch Kids anymore. Like, bring on the carrots.
You have to be patient.
Yeah.
And I think you also have to have like a really good why. Like why are you doing this, right? If you're going in to fitness for aesthetic reasons only, you're going to have a lot less success if I think you're going in with a mindset to be physically and mentally fitter.
Yeah. Or like maybe if you're going in for just aesthetics, like you'll have your aesthetic success, but maybe you won't be happy.
Yes.
Because you're always going to want to be better at like whatever. There has to be something else in there, and I think that you have to, at the end of the day, whatever your goal goals are and whatever success is to you, you need to love yourself.
Yeah.
Which took me up until recently to like fully, like even me, like I've been doing this since what, like 2012, and like just now it's been like.
And even then, don't you find that you sometimes feel like, okay, I'm like super confident, I'm super happy, and then you might kind of have a month where things kind of backtrack. Like it's not like once you get there, you're there and it's locked in. You're gonna have, I mean, life events that'll happen. It could be a lot of things, but it's not like this linear process that people think that
No,
it is.
like it's not going to be like every day you take your step forward. Sometimes you're going to take 17 steps backwards. Like, we're gonna be real here right now. Like even recently, I'm having like not right now, but a couple months ago when I was just starting my like running whatever. I got really upset one morning because I weigh myself once a month and that's it. Like I weigh myself once a month and it's for like data purposes and just to like see what's going on. It has nothing to do with body image and aesthetics, but like I weighed myself and the running had understandably made me drop like more weight than was considered to be healthy in my mind. And like I got to looking in the mirror and I was like, all my muscles are gone. Like, oh my god, I started looking at my old like bodybuilding pictures and I was like, where's my abs and my ass, you know, like I don't understand. But then you like reel it back in and you're like, hey, wait, take a breath, like don't worry about it, like you're fine, like you're happy, you're good, everything else is going well and you're badass, so like move on.
Yeah, I find even though you still have the setbacks or those moments, I find the further you kind of get into fitness and the further along you're able to kind of check yourself quicker. That's really what the difference. It's not that the moments don't happen. You just can like rebound from them and like get back on track quicker than you used to.
I find that just being aware also is really good. Like, I don't think there's any problem with like having a weekend or like I'm not gonna give everyone a green pass to like just have a weekend with a like binge eat. Like that's not healthy either. But like if it's your anniversary or your birthday and you have some cake and you have some like whatever and you didn't necessarily stick to like all healthy foods, like whatever, just understand that, you know, maybe you'll be a little bloated because you haven't had cake in 4 months.
That's fine.
And like maybe like you drank a little bit too much alcohol and like your gut isn't going to be, you know, working properly for the next couple days. But if you understand that when I do this happens with my body, you're not going to wake up in the morning and be like, oh my god, I gained 15 pounds overnight. Like, no, you're retaining water because you drank a 6-pack and ate half a cake. Like, maybe give yourself some like leeway there, Fred. Like,
and it's okay because it's a good balance to have, right? Like do you want to kind of never be bloated and you're always kind of in like this ideal shape, but then you're always a person who doesn't have cake at the party. You're always the person who says no to the beer, and then you always feel like you're restricted. That's not healthy either.
Like if you don't like cake and you don't want cake, like go for you. But I also think
cake.
But like I'm gonna eat cake. But like for a lot of people, maybe it's not cake. Maybe it's not alcohol. Maybe it's
Pringles.
Maybe it's Pringles. Maybe it's like a bag of chips every now and again. Maybe you're at someone's baby shower and there's like sour keys on the table and you're like, oh my god, I haven't had candy.
You keep going back to these sour candies. Has everyone
so
else noticed this trend?
They're so good. You know those like little sour.
You get me a barbell for Christmas. Yeah, you're like a bucket of
sour candy. Don't do it. Actually, I'm way better now at like moderating. So like if I want to say like 5 years ago when I was like I was really restrictive on like what I was eating. Like there were good foods and there was bad foods, which I don't do now.
No,
that's not.
There's no such thing as good or bad.
Like every food has a value, whether that's like nutritional value or like, you know,
pleasure.
Sometimes you want like a mac and cheese, like
nostalgic,
or or like you know you go out on a date and you get like a hot dog and like a dippery or whatever. Like, I mean, yeah. So, but like sometimes that has value and it might not necessarily be like the best nutrition-wise, but if you're not doing it all the time, it's not really going to affect what you're doing.
Again, it's about balance, right? I mean, should you eat 20 apples in a day either? What's a good food, right? And like a reasonable slice of cake, is that really bad? No.
I wouldn't have dessert every single night, but like if someone offers me, like if I'm at a family member's house and they're like, we made pie, like I'm not going to be like, I can't eat that because it doesn't fit my macros. Like who says that anymore? But like
there are.
I mean, if you have a short-term goal, like whatever, you can do your restriction and you can whatever, but you have to realize that at some point, like eating normally, like has to be a part of your, like eating normally doesn't, like it's not eating cake every day, but it's also not only eating carrots and hummus. Like
that's why I'm not a huge fan of like meal plans. Like I've had people ask me for meal plans. A, I'm not a nutritionist, so I shouldn't be giving meal plans. B, I'm a vegan, so I'm not going to make like a non-vegan meal plan because that would be ridiculous. But also because a lot of my reading, a lot of people I've spoken to who have been given meal plans, is the issue is, are you going to pay for a meal plan for the rest of your life? Likely not. And then you don't learn how to kind of eat on your own. And so you're not really gaining any long-term skills, whereas it's much better. Like I've had clients who are more like, okay, well, like write down what you ate for a week, and don't do it all the time because it could become obsessive. And then you can kind of like see a little like tweaks, and then you kind of learn as you go. Whereas me being like, okay, you have like this piece of chicken and this much rice, and you don't kind of learn how to control yourself and how to like learn your hunger cues and learn when it's like, okay, you know what, I'm at a birthday party, I'm gonna have the cake, but you know what, I'm gonna eat a little bit cleaner tomorrow, and try to kind of like learn to balance your life between, again, the good foods and the bad foods. And
I don't know, the good food, bad food thing kind of like sets me off a little bit when someone's like, oh, like you can't have a donut because you're a healthy person. It's like, motherfucker, like I want a donut, like I'm gonna jam that shit.
Do you find you get that a lot too though when you're at, like I definitely get it because I'm a trainer. Some people are like, you eat that, or I'm like, well, I'm a regular person. I have, I have cake on my birthday. No, what do you think I make, like a cake out of cucumbers or something, like hummus icing, like
So I know what I'm getting you for your birthday.
If you got me a cucumber cake covered in hummus, I would be so pissed. I do like hummus though a lot. But yeah, it's all about balance.
I mean, the thing is like it's gonna be normal if you're like me and you were a junk food eater, like you were like a junk food addict for a really long time, it's gonna be completely normal that when you start shifting to like a healthier diet, that you're gonna have trigger foods and you're gonna eat one Oreo and it's gonna turn into the entire freaking box. Like it's normal.
What? I have no idea.
I have no idea what you're talking about. The thing is, like, I don't think that people talk enough about making the transition isn't as easy as like, okay, I'm just gonna stop eating these, because first of all, sugary foods I don't care what science wants to say, they are addictive. Like in personal experience, like I don't eat white refined sugar anymore as a general rule. Like same thing, I'll have like the cake at the birthday or like whatever. But I find that like if I eat candy, like I'm like my palate is like effed for like the rest of the week. Like, did you find,
since we're talking about food, I was a sugar junkie, so chocolate, the really like fancy Starbucks drinks like that. I'm not huge on chips, salty. I'm big on sugar, and so what I did was, what I normally tell people to do is to kind of like slowly wean yourself off. So, for example, when I realized that I was drinking a 500-calorie white mocha from Starbucks every day, and I think it's like 30 grams of sugar or something per drink. It might have even been more. So what I did was I started getting it like every other day, or one day I'd get it, and so like I really like weaned myself off slowly. So I didn't cut. Tell me, if you have 2 cans of Coke a day, well, have 1 can of Coke a day. Like do it slowly. It's a process, and then what I've noticed that like a lot of people don't believe until it happens, that your palate changes. So I can't find even if I ordered the white, and I have like ordered a full sweet drink at Starbucks after like a year of not having one, and I took one sip.
Yeah,
and I was in the car with my stepfather, and I literally almost spit it out all over his dashboard because it was so sweet. Or the other week I wanted that, the hibiscus refresher at Starbucks, really good. But I normally would say no lemonade, or if like I'm being wild on a Saturday, I'll say half. But I forgot. It was like 40 degrees out. I was super thirsty. So I went in and I got the drink, stepped outside, and I took a sip. And I mean, I looked like I have epilepsy, so like I did a shake, and like I think my husband thought I was having a seizure. I almost dropped the drink, but it was so sweet.
Yeah.
And I would have drank that like in 5 minutes before, but my tolerance for sugar has changed as I wean myself off. So I find sugar has been the most interesting one because your palate really does change. You become accustomed to eating that much sugar, and once you cut it out, you can't handle it anymore.
I find that once you cut sugar out, like everything else tastes so much better. It does take a couple
time.
Weeks. It takes a few weeks for your palate to readjust. But like, so I didn't do the wean off thing. I went cold turkey. Like I made the decision one day to no more white refined sugar, and it was the worst month of my life. Like everything was bland. I was like, why do people eat peppers? This is horrible. and now like red peppers are my favorite vegetable because they're like the most delicious. They're like sweet and they've got like savory flavors, and then put a little salt, pepper, olive oil, put on the barbecue.
Yeah.
Like best thing ever. But like when you start coming off of that, you're like nothing tastes good because your palate is so oversaturated with hyper palatable, created in a laboratory food.
And things you don't even realize, like barbecue. I used to put barbecue sauce on everything. How much sugar is in barbecue sauce? I mean,
There's
a
like
lot.
25 grams and like 3
Yeah.
tablespoons. It's a lot. Some brands of pasta sauce, if you can make your pasta sauce at home, please make your pasta sauce at home, because to offset that like metallic-y, like canned taste, like there's like one serving, which really, who's only having a quarter cup of pasta sauce? Nobody.
Yeah,
It's like 20 grams of sugar. Like it's just insane the stuff that you'll find sugar in, or like things that are marketed as healthy, and then you look at the nutritional value and you're like, what is
yogurt is a huge culprit of that.
The first ingredient is corn syrup.
I love the low fat yogurt, but then they have like 29 grams of sugar, and I mean like in a yogurt cup, right?
Yeah.
So too, I mean, you have to learn how to read labels a bit too, because you don't realize, but. For me, I found too that the like education I started getting when I got into health and fitness is something I look back on and wonder like why we don't teach this to kids, or we don't like. I always compare my body. It's like a car, right? I have this car, and normally when you have a car, I don't drive, but I know people with cars, right? You maintain your car. You give it an oil change. You get the right oil for your car. You do all of this stuff, and yet we don't really learn how to like maintain the machine that gets us through life. And so we started kind of reading like, well, what does my body require? Like, what are recommended daily limits? And again, I don't track my food, but I have like an idea if I'm like meeting those goals and I'm like somewhat on the right track. And again, I'm not like striving for perfection. It's progress, but kind of really learning what is in your food and how to eat and learning how to cook are like very transformative. I have found.
Yeah. Like, especially so for me, since we're talking about like tracking food and like I guess calories and macros, right? Like I'm like a chronic undereater. Like I have a really hard time like gaining weight.
Never been my problem.
Like it's just like there's a reason why I was only like 94 pounds in 2014 or whatever, 2013. Like I was so little, but like same thing. You can be really little and you can be very skinny and you can be very unhealthy. Not like it's a thing. People like skinny people have heart disease too. Like
size is not an indicator of health.
No, it's not.
There's a variety of.
Like so, like when a couple weeks ago I stepped on the scale and I had my like little mental breakdown of like, oh my god, I've lost so much weight. Like to reassess. Like I don't track my food anymore because I think it can be very obsessive.
Yeah,
but
I'm the same way.
It's also a tool that you can use. So if tracking your food doesn't trigger you into like being obsessive with your food and weighing everything all the time, like being like, okay, I don't feel good, something's obviously off, and you just eat like you normally have been, and you track your food for a week, and then you look at your data and you're like, oh, that's why. And then you reassess, and then like now I'm not tracking again. I did a week of tracking. And, like,
yeah, that's what I do occasionally. I found it very good at the beginning. For example, I realized 500 calories a day in a Starbucks drink and how much sugar, that was eye-opening.
Yeah.
So that portion, like how off, you don't realize how off your portion sizes are. You know, like a piece of chicken shouldn't be this like half your plate. And then two, I've used it when like something's like I'm eating isn't agreeing with me. It's good to track. And I'm like, okay, well these were the days that my stomach. What were like that's how I realized I have an intolerance to avocado. So like, but I track very infrequently just to kind of see if like, and again, because I'm vegan, like I want to make sure I'm like my macros are decent, my iron, blah blah blah. But yeah, it's definitely something that can become very obsessive and you don't want to like, it's just, it is annoying when you do it for a week. You're like on your thing, or you're like Fitness Pal or whatever.
You're like guessing. You're like, I didn't weigh the avocado. Like, what? I don't know.
Yeah. So yeah, I really don't recommend it long term, but it's good to get like a baseline.
Well, it's like the same thing as
where you're at.
I try not to tell people to weigh themselves, especially like women are obsessed with the number, and I'm like, so I have a photo that I show people, and it's my side by side of what I looked like when I was like 105 pounds, like when I had been working out for like a little bit and just eating better. And then when I was my heaviest, I was like 138 pounds, and I was like jacked, but like small, like my measurements were smaller, but like it was just a more aesthetically pleasing like photograph. And I'm like, how much do you think I weigh in these two pictures? And they always say that the one where I actually weighed less, I weigh more, and the one where I have like a healthier body, they're all like, you're definitely leaner in this one. And I'm like, my body fat's lower in this one, but I weigh 30 pounds more than I do in this photo, and it blows people's minds.
Or people get really confused. I have women who get very confused because they'll go down a pant size or two pant sizes, but the scale's gone up a little bit, and it kind of throws people off a bit. But I mean, like you are physically smaller. You know. If you're going up the stairs easier than you were before, you're lifting more, you feel stronger, you're more confident. Posture is a big feedback I get after I start working out, because you kind of learn about your form and how to hold yourself. Then who cares if the scale's gone up too? Like I much prefer to go by my clothes. Like I don't own a scale, and especially during COVID, I don't have access to a scale. So I mean, I know like around what I weigh, and even me too. I've asked clients, well, how much do you think I weigh? And they're normally 20 pounds off. Like, they think I weigh 20 pounds less than I do when I tell them.
Yeah.
They're like, you don't. I'm like, if I had a scale, I would show you I do, but, you know, I weigh this much, but I wear like a size 6 Lululemon, and it doesn't make sense, but it's because I have a high muscle percentage, right?
Well, the more that you work out, too, especially if you're like in the mid-range, I'm not going to do the extremes of like me being super small, or like you when you started your like fitness journey. If you're in the middle, like you're an average woman and you're obsessed with what you weigh, and then you start working out, you will be freaking out because you're probably like you're going to get beginner gains, and you're probably going to lose fat, but you might stay the same size for a little bit, but your weight's going to go up, and freaks people out. And I've had friends that are like, or like even on internet forums that like, they're like, I don't know what's going on. And it's like, how do you feel?
Yeah, how do you feel?
How do you feel? Do you feel good? How does your body function? How's your mobility? Are you breathing better?
Yeah.
Like,
are daily tasks
when you bring your groceries in from the car, are you winded?
Can you pick up your kid easier? Can you chase your kid around the park for longer periods of time?
Yeah.
Those are really the best
indicators.
They're the best indicators, because at the end of the day, health should always be the main pursuit, because you want to live as long as possible, and you want to live well, right? And mobile for as long as possible.
Yeah.
And so, you know, those are way better markers than some like abstract number on a scale.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just this like culture of like I'm glad that I'm seeing the culture shift more, and I'm seeing more women doing weightlifting, and I'm seeing more women doing strength sports, and like I want to say some men are less judgmental of women that have like massive amounts of muscle, but like that's a different topic. But like the culture is shifting, and I find that when you let go of like the numbers and you focus on what you're feeling like and do you feel good and are you happy, it changes your life. Like
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find the things that I've gotten, I'm going to ask you this question next, but what I have derived from eating well and working out, okay, yes, I've lost a little over 100 pounds, which is great, and I'm obviously physically healthier, like 100%, and that is all great, but like I'm definitely more mobile. I'm, able to go about my daily life a lot easier. I sleep better. I'm off my mental health medication. I'm not saying everybody's going to be able to do that, but I was able to do that, and a lot of people are able to do that. Little things like my posture are better.
You don't hurt them.
I also I learned how to cook, and I actually enjoy cooking, which is really nice. I think a lot of times people don't enjoy cooking because they don't know how to cook, or they're maybe kind of too worried about like what's going in it and how much time it's going to take. And so really like my priorities have shifted, and I think for myself it's been for the better. So those are far more to me than the weight loss long term anyways. You? So what is the main thing you think you've learned from all of this? About yourself.
I have the too much gene. That's what I've learned. And sometimes I just need to like suck it back in. Like I'm a very competitive, like need to be the best in everything kind of person, and that isn't always the best thing for me mentally and physically. And unfortunately, like had I realized you're not going to be a professional athlete, so why are you killing yourself for this?
Yeah.
Or like, yes, you enjoy it, but you'll be able to enjoy it for longer if you just back off. Had I learned that a little bit earlier, I probably would have been happier sooner.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not saying that I've struggled with really bad like anxiety issues and just like over trying to control everything. And when you try to control everything that's around you, like it creates more stress, and the more stressed you are, the more like prone to injury.
Have you been able to apply this lesson to other areas of your life, like outside of fitness?
Oh yeah, like letting things just like I was never diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder, but I had like obsessive compulsive symptoms tied to my anxiety issues, and like I don't disassemble my oven anymore to clean it on the inside, which is great because it's like, whoa, hold up. Or like I used to vacuum every single day.
They're a little more relaxed.
Yeah, just like relax, and like I used to get pissed off if there was like a dish in the sink, or like things you can't control. Like if you're in traffic and someone's an asshole, like it would stress me out, and I would just like and like need to go smash something because like weightlifting was my therapy, whereas I should have taken like the lessons that I learned from weightlifting and like applied them to my life sooner.
Yeah,
probably would.
But again, it's a journey, right? You kind of keep learning, like you're never done, and that you bring that up, but I find like doing hard things are good for you. I feel like we are a society that seeks comfort, and like soft times make soft people, I think is like very, very true, and some people find that harsh, but I think going through struggles and pushing yourself and seeing yourself lifting something you thought you couldn't lift, or getting completing a marathon, or a lot of these like difficult physical tasks that you're able to overcome really translate a lot to like your mental toughness, and you learn what you're capable of. Like absolutely. I would have never left my old job, which was like in a very unhealthy environment. I was like very unhappy. I had like Sunday night anxiety about going to work on Monday. Like I would have never had the confidence to leave that job if it wasn't for fitness ever. It gave me so much confidence. I was like, if I can do this, if I can transform myself to be this fit from where I started, then I could do anything. No.
Well, I completely agree, and just even in like social aspects, this is going to be really harsh, but I'm one of those people that like,
Bring it.
I'm sorry, I will not be like, if I'm friends with you and like you're a completely toxic person and you bring nothing to like this relationship and it ends up doing more harm than good, for a very long time, I felt I would feel guilty about like saying no to that person, or like, no, I'm not going to be lending you $500 because I know you're going to go and spend it on cocaine. Like, no, I'm not going to let you sleep on my couch for 4 weeks because you don't have a job right now because like you were partying too much, whatever. Like, removing, like, being able to see what you're worth and what you can do, and be confident in the fact that you can like retake that happiness for yourself and not feel guilty about saying no to people. Like, that's probably the biggest thing that I've gotten like through the confidence. Like, I was a very yes person.
Okay.
Like, I've always been like a yes person. If I can, I will. Like, if I can, I will. And I'm sorry for your situation. And like, here's your money and here's your this. And like, if you need anything, let me know. Here's my old phone. Like, whatever. And like, I no longer do that. And people have started, in the last few years, I find that people respect you more for putting up those boundaries. Like, I'm still going to support my friend if I can, but you also need to find the limit of, this isn't healthy for me anymore, and you need more help than I can give you.
Yeah, you establish your boundaries. You also feel like you're more drawn. I find that I'm more drawn to people who are also interested in like leveling up more.
Yeah.
And so again, I want to help my friends. I want to help people around me, but I also think like me setting boundaries sometimes is me helping the other person by being like, you need to, stand on your own 2 feet a little bit more, and you are capable of doing this, and I can support you, but like, you need to put in a bit more work, and definitely find as I spend a lot more time like working on my business and my own fitness, and I'm always like cooking fresh food and trying to do all of these things. It's like I do have a little bit less time to kind of indulge people who are not like working on, again, like leveling up, getting better. Like I want people around me to like be moving in the same direction, even if it's not like fitness related, but trying to like move forward and get better. When I feel like people are trying to like overstep my boundaries and like pull me back, I have a bit less tolerance for it. And I agree with you. Like, I don't think it's a bad thing either, because I was like you. I used to be like, well, if I can help, I'm like always. But like, the reality is like I can't, and it's not really that good for the other person, anyways.
Yeah, like it's basically like the enabler syndrome. Like, if you have somebody that has an addiction, right? Like, unfortunately, when you do start, I'm sure that you've experienced this as well, especially now that you're a trainer. Like, when you start your fitness, and then people always want to be naysayers while you're starting. Like, people will always shoot you down. This is what I'm going to do with my life. Like, this is the new path I'm on. Yes. And everyone's always, you can't, you shouldn't. Why don't you just stop? Like this is whatever. And then as soon as you start seeing progress, and they start seeing progress, all of a sudden they're your cheerleaders. But there's always that like backhanded like, oh, but, because it's been,
but you've had it easier, or I could do it if.
And then you have the achievement. Finally, you get there, you get to whatever your goal is, or like you get further along, or okay, now this is definitely a part of your lifestyle, and all of a sudden these people are now asking you for advice, and you're like, okay, but I'm going to tell you what I do, and you're not going to like it.
And I find the most interesting about that is that I found I got the most pushback from women, which I found very upsetting. I think I went into fitness and to weightlifting thinking that I would have more issues with men in the gym, and any negative comments I got were from women, and I have like quite a few stories of women coming up to me saying like I had one woman come up to me in the gym, and she literally put her hands on me, this is pre-COVID, and she goes, your waist has gotten too small, your arms are still too big, and like she put her hands on me, and I remember being like,
bitch,
yeah, and this is the woman who I kept seeing in the gym. I was at the same gym for a while. Like, a year and a half later, I was, my arms were starting to like get more balanced, and I was even more fit, and and I saw her, and I hadn't seen her for a while. I think she had left the gym and she had came back, and she kind of saw me and was super, super shocked about how I looked. And, you know, I'm not judging her, but I mean, she was mean to me first. But, like, she hadn't made any progress, and I was like, you know, when you give out that's what you get in return. Like, you were negative to me about what I was doing, and I persevered, and I overcame, and I didn't let those comments bother me. And you came at me with negativity, and now you're still here, and I am here. And you definitely, unfortunately, don't forget the people who were naysayers, or people who were like, oh, well, you're wasting your time working out, or just making those negative comments. Yeah, and then they're normally the ones who will ask you for like how you did it, and then when you tell them how you did it, they don't believe you. I feel like people think like you take like this magic pill, like they expect you to
go
like,
to bed, you wake up
like
in
I
the
found
morning,
this pill and I bought it and I take it every day at lunch, and like boom. And then when you tell them like, no, this is how I ran a marathon, this is how I lost 100 pounds, they're normally like, no, there's got to be an easier way, so they go to like Herbalife or God knows what. But no, it's true. And so, but I find it's a good way to kind of cultivate your tribe a little more, which is a good thing. Like I met you, and I met all these great people through fitness, and some people have, I think, been a little turned off by my new lifestyle. I mean, there's definitely like a drifting, and that's okay. Some people are like meant to be in your life for like a period of time, I think, and you learn from them, and you grow apart, and you end up on different paths, and that's okay. So, but that could be maybe sometimes be like a negative side of this journey. I think you don't expect. I think you think when you start to take back your health, you assume everybody would support you in that, and it definitely is shocking at first when people make a lot of negative comments or pushback. But it happens, so know that it happens.
It may happen to you.
It may.
And it's fine and it's normal, and understand that it's their stuff, it's not yours.
Yeah.
Like I have had very few negative experiences with people. Mostly like when I'm pushing myself a little bit too hard, I'll get like family and close friends that are like, should you really be doing that? And it's like, maybe that's not good for you. Like, you know, that's not good for you. And then I'll be like,
deadlifting is dangerous.
Deadlifting is dangerous. Your uterus will fall out, like that kind of stuff.
I got like you were gonna blow out your back. I never had my uterus.
No, yeah, it's like maybe you shouldn't be. And I'm like, I don't think you know anything about anatomy, but yeah, like some people, when they start projecting that negative stuff on you, it's their stuff. Let them have their thing. Don't let them affect you, and just let it roll off. And
I think I've gotten better at that now, because that woman really.
They do. It does sting. It does sting a little bit, especially when it's.
I think when you're in the beginning, it stings more. As you get like further, like I still get comments now. My favorite, most recent comment that I really let roll, that I actually laughed my ass off about, I didn't get offended at all, is like, I have epilepsy, which was a catalyst for me getting into shape. Because I'm like, okay, well, I'd rather be as healthy as I possibly can be, since I have a condition I can't control. Let me control the rest of my health. And I had a seizure. It was provoked by heat stroke, and I'm vegan, and the person had said, well, maybe if she ate a steak, she wouldn't have had a seizure. And I was like, okay, it's such an uneducated opinion. My diet has nothing to do with whether or not I'm going to have a
if
seizure.
Anything,
like,
it's helping.
That's what my doctor, my neurologist actually said. He was actually like, you eat really healthy, and it's probably healthy. Because I was like, just out of curiosity, I go, I know what you're going to say, but I just want like a doctor confirmation. I just laughed and let it roll. Like, I let it roll off my back, and it was super, I laughed a lot about it. People around me were offended by the comment, and I'm like, guys, this is like, you get used to it, and again, that is 100% their own issue. Whatever their issue is, I don't need to get into that. I'm still working on my own issues to start helping people with that type of stuff. But
I'm not a therapist, honey, but maybe you should see one.
Yeah, maybe you should talk. But yeah, so that's definitely a step back. So we've been going for a super long time. So I am going to get to a last question. So if you're still here, last question, I ask everybody, if you could give one piece of advice to a woman who is just starting out on her wellness journey, what would you give them? Since I love you, I'll let you have two even.
Ooh. Low and slow.
Low and slow.
Yeah. Low and and slow. You ain't gonna get anywhere if you hurt yourself or you get discouraged because you think it's too hard.
Yeah.
Everything is achievable if you just like, especially when you're first starting out, people get very like tunnel vision into I'm gonna work out 5 days, like never worked out a day in their lives, never ate a carrot, and they're like, I'm gonna work out 5 days a week for an hour every time, and I'm gonna eat salad for lunch, and I'm gonna have roasted chicken, like, and you're just like, well, honey, you're eating 7 liters of Coke a week, and you have cake for breakfast. So maybe we just replace the cake with something healthier, and you go for a walk.
Yeah.
Like, that is going to make such a big impact on how you feel and like just the projection of you is going to be way faster than if you go really hard, realize that, oh, maybe this isn't right for me and I did this too fast, like too hard, too fast. So I say low and slow. Like,
yeah, because too, if you set a goal that's too far out from where you're at, you will fail. And then you'll be discouraged, and then you'll probably quit, which is what I did for a decade before I finally succeeded.
Yeah.
So, like, very small, smart goals, right? Realistic, small, short term. You have a success, you add. You have a success, you add. You have a success, you add. And I mean, I lost 100 pounds. I did it in like 2 years, right? I know people who do it in like 6 months. Yeah,
but that's not unbelievable.
And they keep it off. They just do the lifestyle.
Well, there's a reason why the Biggest Loser, the contestants aren't successful long term.
That's true.
So metabolism
and slow.
Low and slow.
I love it.
Low and slow.
So thank you for doing this interview. Wherever I'm posting this, check for a link to Freddie's Instagram and YouTube and all of that jazz. And I'm sure we'll be back with an interesting guest soon. But you know me, flying by the seat of my pants. Just who knows who and when
Freddie
that will
part
be.
2.
It would be Freddie part 2. All right, later, people.